April 23rd, 1985, New York City, Lincoln Center. 200 reporters fill the auditorium. Camera crews line the walls. This is one of the biggest press conferences in corporate history, and at the center of it all stands Roberto Goizueta, CEO of the Coca Cola Company. He's about to make an announcement that will shock the world. The best has been made even better, Goizueta declares. After 99 years, Coca-Cola is changing its formula. The new Coke is sweeter, smoother, more like Pepsi. It's the result of 4 years of research, 200,000 taste tests, and $100 million in development. And according to Goizueta, it's one of the easiest decisions we've ever made. The reporters are stunned. Coca-Cola is changing the formula, the most iconic product in American history, the drink that's been the same since 1886. Goizueta is confident. The taste tests prove it. People prefer new Coke to old Coke. They prefer it to Pepsi. This is going to win the cola wars. This is going to save Coca-Cola. He's catastrophically wrong. Within days, Coca-Cola's hotline is flooded with angry calls. Thousands per day, then tens of thousands. By June, the company is receiving 1,500 calls per day, compared to 400 before the change. Over 400,000 letters and phone calls in total, all of them saying the same thing: bring back the old Coke. Protest groups form. The Old Cola Drinkers of America files a class action lawsuit. Customers hoard cases of old Coke, selling them on the black market for triple the price. A man in San Antonio buys 500 cases and stores them in his garage. Psychiatrists are hired to listen to the hotline calls because some customers sound suicidal. On July 11th, 1985, just 79 days after launching New Coke, Coca-Cola holds another press conference, this time to announce they're bringing back the original formula. It will be called Coca-Cola Classic. New Coke will remain on shelves, but Classic is back. The press conference is broadcast live on ABC. Trading on the New York Stock Exchange is halted, so traders can watch. When the announcement is made, the room erupts in applause. Reporters are cheering. Coca-Cola's president, Don Keough, delivers what's later called one of the greatest speeches in corporate history. "We have heard you," he says. "The simple fact is that all the time and money and skill poured into consumer research on the new Coca-Cola could not measure or reveal the deep and abiding emotional attachment to original Coca-Cola felt by so many people." Coca-Cola Classic returns to stores. Sales explode. Within weeks, Classic is outselling Pepsi. Within months, Coca-Cola has regained market share. The company that almost destroyed itself with New Coke has emerged stronger than ever, but the damage is done. Coca-Cola spent $34 million on New Coke's development and launch. They lost millions more in wasted inventory, marketing, and brand damage. And they learned the hardest lesson in branding. You don't own your brand, your customers do. And if you betray them, they will revolt. This is the story of how Coca-Cola, the most valuable brand in the world, made a $34 million mistake that changed branding forever. And it all started with a taste test. To understand why Coca-Cola changed their formula, you need to understand the Pepsi challenge. Because in the 1970s and early 80s, Pepsi was winning. 1975, Pepsi launches the Pepsi Challenge, a brilliant marketing campaign. They set up booths in shopping malls across America. Customers are invited to do a blind taste test. 2 unmarked cups, 1 Coke, 1 Pepsi. Which do you prefer? The results are shocking. More than half of participants choose Pepsi. Even Coke drinkers choose Pepsi. The campaign is a massive success. Pepsi's market share starts to grow. Coca-Cola's starts to decline. By the early 1980s, Pepsi is closing the gap. In 1980, Coca-Cola has a 24% market share. Pepsi has 18%. By 1983, Coke is at 23%. Pepsi is at 22%. Pepsi is about to overtake Coke as the #1 cola in America. Inside Coca-Cola's Atlanta headquarters, there's panic. For nearly a century, Coke has been the dominant cola, the original, the real thing. And now they're losing to Pepsi. Something has to be done. Roberto Goizueta, who became CEO in 1981, is determined to fight back. He's a Cuban immigrant who worked his way up through Coca Cola's ranks. He's smart, ambitious, and ruthless, and he's not going to let Pepsi win. Goizueta commissions research to understand why Pepsi is winning the taste tests. The answer is simple. Pepsi is sweeter. In a blind taste test where you only take one sip, sweeter tastes better. Coke's formula, which has been the same since 1886, is less sweet. It's designed to be refreshing over a full glass or bottle, but in a sip test, Pepsi wins. Goizueta makes a decision. If Pepsi is winning because they're sweeter, Coca Cola will make a sweeter Coke. They'll beat Pepsi at their own game. In 1981, Coca Cola's research and development team starts working on a new formula. They call it Project Kansas, a reference to the newspaper editor who said, "There is no news in Kansas." The project is top secret. Only a handful of executives know about it. Over the next 4 years, Coca Cola conducts over 200,000 taste tests. They test dozens of formulas, and they find one that works. It's sweeter, smoother, less acidic, and in blind taste tests, it beats old Coke, it beats Pepsi, it beats everything. The taste tests are conducted in shopping malls, focus groups, and home trials. Participants are asked to compare 3 colas, old Coke, Pepsi, and the new formula. The new formula wins consistently. 55% prefer it to old Coke, 52% prefer it to Pepsi. Goizueta and his team are thrilled. They've cracked the code. They've created a Coke that beats Pepsi in taste tests. This is going to change everything. This is going to win the cola wars. But there's a problem so fundamental, so obvious, that it's shocking Coca-Cola missed it. The taste tests measured taste. They didn't measure emotion. They didn't measure brand loyalty. They didn't measure what Coke means to people. Because Coke isn't just a drink. It's nostalgia. It's Americana. It's tradition. It's the taste of childhood summers, 4th of July barbecues, and Christmas dinners. Coke is part of people's identity, and you can't measure that in a taste test. But Coca-Cola didn't see it. They were so focused on beating Pepsi, so obsessed with the taste tests, that they forgot what made Coke special. It wasn't the taste, it was the brand, the history, the emotional connection. On April 23rd, 1985, Coca-Cola announces new Coke. The press conference is massive, 200 reporters, national television coverage. Goizueta is confident. He calls it one of the easiest decisions we've ever made. He says the taste tests prove that new Coke is better. He says customers are going to love it. The initial reaction is mixed. Some people are curious, some are skeptical, but most are shocked. Coca-Cola is changing the formula after 99 years. Why? Within days, the backlash begins. Customers start calling Coca-Cola's hotline. At first, it's a few hundred calls per day, then a few thousand. The callers are angry. They don't want new Coke. They want the old Coke, the real Coke. Coca-Cola's customer service team tries to reassure them. The taste tests show that new Coke is better. Give it a chance. Try it. You'll like it. But customers don't care about taste tests. They care about their Coke, and Coca-Cola just took it away. By May, the backlash is a national story. Protest groups form. The Old Cola Drinkers of America, led by a Seattle man named Gay Mullins, files a class action lawsuit demanding the return of old Coke. They hold rallies, they organize boycotts, they get media coverage. Customers start hoarding old Coke. They buy cases, dozens of cases, and store them in basements and garages. Some sell them on the black market for 3 times the normal price. In one case, a man in San Antonio buys 500 cases and refuses to sell them, even at inflated prices. He's saving them for himself. The calls to Coca-Cola's hotline become more intense. Some callers are angry, some are sad, some sound genuinely distressed. Coca-Cola hires psychiatrists to listen to the calls because some customers sound suicidal. One psychiatrist says, the callers sound like they're grieving a death. The media piles on. Newspapers run headlines like Coke's Big Fizzle and what were they thinking? Late night hosts mock New Coke. Saturday Night Live does a sketch. Columnists write think pieces about corporate arrogance and the death of American tradition. And the sales numbers are bad, really bad. New Coke is selling, but not as much as old Coke did. And Coca Cola Classic, which doesn't exist yet, is what people want. Pepsi, meanwhile, is having a field day. They run ads celebrating their victory. Pepsi won the Cola Wars, they claim. Coca Cola is in crisis. Inside Coca Cola's headquarters, executives are in denial. The taste test said New Coke was better. Why aren't customers buying it? Why are they so angry? Goizueta insists they just need time. Customers will adjust. They'll realize New Coke is better. They just need to get used to it. But the backlash doesn't stop. It gets worse. By June, Coca-Cola is receiving 1,500 calls per day, over 400,000 letters and phone calls in total. The company is spending millions on customer service, public relations, and damage control, and nothing is working. Finally, in early July, Goizueta admits defeat. New Coke is a disaster. The company has to bring back the old formula. On July 10, 1985, Coca-Cola's board meets and makes the decision. Old Coke is coming back. It will be called Coca Cola Classic. On July 11th, Coca-Cola holds a press conference. It's broadcast live on ABC. Trading on the New York Stock Exchange is halted, so traders can watch. Don Keough, Coca-Cola's president, delivers the announcement. "We have heard you," Keough says. "You wanted the original taste of Coca-Cola back, and we're bringing it back." He explains that New Coke will remain on shelves, but Classic is returning. He admits that Coca-Cola underestimated the emotional attachment people have to the original formula. The reaction is emphatic. The press conference room erupts in applause. Reporters are cheering. Customers call the hotline to say thank you. Some are crying. The news makes the front page of every major newspaper. Coke brings back old formula, reads the New York Times. Coca-Cola Classic hits stores within days, and the response is overwhelming. Sales explode. Within weeks, Classic is outselling New Coke by 2-1. Within months, Classic is outselling Pepsi. Coca-Cola's market share, which had been declining, starts to grow again. By the end of 1985, Coca-Cola Classic is the best-selling soft drink in America. New Coke is still on shelves, but barely anyone is buying it. By 1990, New Coke is quietly discontinued in most markets. By 2002, it's gone completely. The New Coke disaster cost Coca-Cola $34 million in development, marketing, and launch costs. It cost millions more in wasted inventory, lost sales, and brand damage. And it cost Coca-Cola something even more valuable: their reputation for understanding their customers. But in a strange twist, the disaster turned into a blessing, because the backlash to New Coke revealed something Coca-Cola didn't fully understand: how much people loved their brand, how deeply emotional the connection was, how Coke wasn't just a drink, but a part of American culture. When Coca-Cola Classic returned, it wasn't just a product, it was a victory, a symbol of people power. Customers had spoken, and Coca-Cola had listened. The brand loyalty, which had always been strong, became even stronger. People felt like they had saved Coke. And they had. By the end of the 1980s, Coca-Cola's market share was higher than before New Coke. The company's stock price had doubled, and Coca-Cola was once again the undisputed king of cola. Some marketing experts even speculated that the whole thing was a publicity stunt, that Coca-Cola planned to bring back Classic all along, just to generate buzz. Coca-Cola has always denied this, and the evidence suggests it's true. New Coke was a genuine mistake, not a conspiracy. But the lesson from New Coke is real, and it changed branding forever. You don't own your brand, your customers do. A brand isn't just a logo, a slogan, or a product. It's an emotional connection, a relationship, a promise. And if you break that promise, customers will revolt. Coca-Cola learned this the hard way. They spent 4 years and $100 million developing New Coke. They conducted 200,000 taste tests. They had all the data, all the research, all the proof that New Coke was better. But they forgot the most important thing. Coke isn't about taste, it's about feeling. And you can't measure feeling in a taste test. The New Coke story is taught in every marketing class, every business school, every branding seminar. It's the ultimate cautionary tale. A reminder that customers are not rational, they're emotional, and emotions are more powerful than data. Today, Coca-Cola is one of the most valuable brands in the world, worth over $80 billion. They sell over 2 billion servings per day in over 200 countries, and they've never changed the formula of Coca Cola Classic, because they learned, you don't mess with a classic. Roberto Goizueta, the CEO who approved New Coke, went on to become one of the most successful CEOs in Coca-Cola's history. Under his leadership, Coca-Cola's market value grew from $4 billion to $150 billion. He died in 1997, widely respected and celebrated, but he never forgot New Coke. In interviews, he called it a valuable lesson, a reminder to stay humble, to listen to customers, to respect the brand. The New Coke disaster didn't destroy Coca-Cola, it made them stronger, because they learned what truly matters. Not taste tests, not market research, not data, but the emotional connection between a brand and its customers. That's what makes a brand valuable. That's what makes it last. And that's what you can never, ever take for granted. That's the $34 million mistake that changed branding forever. There's a deeper story behind New Coke that reveals why it failed so spectacularly. It's not just that Coca-Cola changed the formula, it's that they fundamentally misunderstood what they were selling. Coca-Cola thought they were selling a beverage, a product defined by its taste, its ingredients, its formula. So when Pepsi started winning taste tests, Coca-Cola responded by changing the taste. It made perfect sense. If customers prefer a sweeter cola, make Coke sweeter, problem solved. But Coca-Cola wasn't selling a beverage. They were selling a feeling, a memory, an identity. When people drank Coke, they weren't just tasting a soft drink. They were tasting their childhood, their first date, their grandmother's kitchen, summer vacations, Christmas mornings. Coke was woven into the fabric of American life. And when Coca-Cola changed the formula, they weren't just changing a product. They were erasing memories. They were telling customers that their nostalgia didn't matter, that their emotional connection was irrelevant, that Coca-Cola knew better than they did what Coke should taste like. That's why the backlash was so intense. It wasn't about taste, it was about betrayal. Customers felt like Coca-Cola had taken something precious from them without asking, something that wasn't Coca-Cola's to take. Because the brand didn't belong to Coca-Cola, it belonged to the people who loved it. This is the fundamental lesson of New Coke. Brands are not owned by companies, they're owned by customers. Companies create products, but customers create brands through their experiences, their memories, their emotional connections. And when a company tries to change a brand without understanding what it means to customers, they're playing with fire. The irony is that Coca-Cola had spent decades building this emotional connection. Their advertising wasn't about taste, it was about feelings. I'd like to buy the world a Coke, have a Coke and a smile. Coke is it. These weren't slogans about flavor, they were about happiness, togetherness, optimism. Coca-Cola had built one of the most emotionally resonant brands in history, and then they threw it away because they got scared, because Pepsi was winning taste tests, because they forgot what made Coke special in the first place. The Pepsi challenge was brilliant marketing, but it was also a trap, because taste tests don't measure brand loyalty. They measure immediate sensory preference. In a sip test, sweeter tastes better, but over a full glass, over years of drinking, the relationship is more complex. People don't choose Coke because it's the sweetest. They choose it because it's Coke. Coca-Cola fell into Pepsi's trap. They accepted Pepsi's framing, that the cola wars were about taste, that whoever won the taste tests would win the market. But that was never true. The cola wars were about brand, about identity, about which cola people felt connected to. And Coke was winning that war until they abandoned their own strengths to fight on Pepsi's terms. There's another lesson here about the limits of market research. Coca-Cola conducted 200,000 taste tests. They had mountains of data, and the data said New Coke was better. But the data was measuring the wrong thing. Taste tests measure taste. They don't measure context. They don't measure habit. They don't measure emotion. When you ask someone to compare two unmarked cups of cola, you're removing everything that makes a brand meaningful. The logo, the history, the associations. You're reducing a rich, complex relationship to a single sensory data point. And that's why the research failed. Because Coke isn't just a taste, it's an experience. And you can't capture experience in a taste test. This is a problem that plagues market research to this day. Companies ask customers what they want. Customers give answers. And then companies build products based on those answers. But customers don't always know what they want. They can tell you what they like in the moment, but they can't always articulate what they'll value over time, what they'll miss when it's gone. If Coca Cola had asked customers, should we change the Coke formula, the answer would have been no, overwhelmingly no. But Coca Cola didn't ask that question. They asked which cola tastes better, and they got a different answer, an answer that led them astray. The return of Coca Cola Classic is one of the greatest comebacks in business history. But it's also one of the greatest examples of a company listening to its customers. When the backlash started, Coca-Cola could have doubled down. They could have insisted that New Coke was better, that customers just needed time to adjust, that the data proved they were right. Some companies do this. They ignore customer feedback. They stick to their strategy. They believe they know better. And sometimes they're right. Sometimes customers resist change at first and then embrace it. But more often, they're wrong, and the company dies. Coca-Cola chose to listen. After 79 days, they admitted their mistake. They brought back the original formula. They gave customers what they wanted, and customers rewarded them with loyalty, sales, and love. Don Keogh's speech at the July 11th press conference is a masterclass in corporate humility. He didn't make excuses. He didn't blame customers for not understanding. He simply said, "We have heard you." 3 words that acknowledged the truth, that Coca-Cola had been wrong, that customers had been right, that the company served the customers, not the other way around. That speech and the decision to bring back Classic saved Coca-Cola. It turned a disaster into a triumph. It transformed a story of corporate arrogance into a story of corporate responsiveness, and it created a narrative that Coca-Cola has used ever since, that they listen, that they care, that they're on the customer's side. Some cynics still believe New Coke was a conspiracy, a publicity stunt designed to generate buzz and make people appreciate Coke more. The theory goes that Coca-Cola planned to bring back Classic all along, that the whole thing was orchestrated to boost sales. It's a compelling theory because it worked. Coca-Cola Classic's sales were higher after the New Coke fiasco than before. The brand loyalty was stronger. The emotional connection was deeper. If it was a plan, it was brilliant, but it wasn't. Every piece of evidence, every interview, every internal document confirms that New Coke was a genuine mistake. Coca-Cola really thought it would work. They really believed the taste tests. They really were shocked by the backlash, and they really scrambled to fix it. The conspiracy theory persists because people want to believe that companies are smarter than they are, that there's a master plan, that mistakes are actually strategies. But the truth is messier. Companies make mistakes, even great companies, even on their most important products. And the difference between success and failure is how they respond. Coca-Cola responded well. They admitted their mistake. They fixed it. They learned from it, and they became stronger. That's not a conspiracy. That's good management. Today, 40 years after New Coke, the story is still told, still studied, still referenced. It's become a cultural touchstone, a shorthand for corporate missteps. When a company makes a tone-deaf decision, people say, this is their New Coke moment. But the real lesson of New Coke isn't about failure. It's about recovery. It's about listening. It's about humility. It's about understanding that brands are bigger than products, that customers are more than data points, that emotion matters more than logic. Coca-Cola learned that lesson in 79 days. It cost them $34 million, but it taught them something worth far more, that their brand was precious, that their customers were loyal, that Coke was more than a drink. It was a part of people's lives, and that was something worth protecting. That's the $34 million mistake that changed branding forever. Not because it destroyed Coca-Cola, but because it taught them, and every company since, what truly matters. Listen to your customers, respect your brand, and never, ever take loyalty for granted.